Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So as a mixed media artist, I do have a lot of products, and that covers everything from watercolor to oil, acrylic, polychromos pencil crayons, aquarelle pencil crayons, and really the list goes on and on and on. I have to say that one of my favorite products out of everything that I have, and I have a lot of stuff, is actually PanPastel Artists Pastels. So these guys. Woo! They're extra suave. So what they are is basically a powdered pastel or a pastel that is contained within a tin form, plastic tin form. Now, I've been wanting to do a product review for a very long time. I just never got around to doing it, but I have to say that these are one of my favorite products, and if you guys are looking to try these or are interested in buying them, I would recommend actually watching this video just because I will go through the pros and cons as well as provide you guys with a product test. Now, as sort of like a disclaimer before I get into everything, I am not by any means a pastel professional. I am very, very much a beginner into the pastel world. I actually really do not like using pastels, which is why I just never gave it a try. But I have to say that the PanPastel Artists Pastels were sort of like the bridge to entering the pastel world, and they actually this product was actually the reason why I got really interested in working with pastels and incorporating pastels into my art. So I hope that you guys like this video, and I will start with the pros and the cons of the product. Alright, so I'll start with the very first pro, and it's probably the reason why I buy this product all the time, or I've consistently been using the product, and that reason is because the product is entirely super versatile. I don't think I'm saying the right word. Okay, but you guys know what I mean. So this product is super versatile in the sense that I could use it with all kinds of different media. So primarily I work with watercolors, and it was super important for me that everything that I use with the watercolor portraits work together beautifully, and there's sort of like a seamless blend. No matter if I'm using watercolor, acrylic, and or pencil crayon, as well as marker together in one portrait, I want to make sure that everything blends beautifully and it works together. So that's why I kind of was not looking into the pastel, adding pastels into that. Pastels to me were always messy, they were always complicated. I was always scared to use them in the portraits because I didn't know if I would somehow screw anything up, and I just didn't want to go there. I just did not want to touch that. But I ended up buying the pastels in the gray colors before, and I started using it with the watercolor, and I was amazed at how versatile they were working with watercolors just alone. So how I normally work is I would, for example, if I'm doing like a face, like a portrait of a face, I will start with the first layer of watercolor, and then afterwards as I maybe build more detail with the polychromos pencil crayons, and then on top of that I will do sort of like the final blend with the pastel. I don't know how to explain it. It basically kind of gives a smooth blend, it makes the skin look very realistic, and it works so nice with the watercolor. And what I was amazed was that actually if I screwed up, if I ended up kind of covering too much pastel in one area, or if I wanted to even darken the shade even more, I could just go over top of it with more water and more watercolor paint. It did a really good job at blending with the water, and that was something that was really, really cool and interesting to experiment with. So that's the first point, is how versatile it is with all the different types of medias you might be using. If you're using marker, I don't know, I have never tried it with marker before, so I would imagine that you would need to know what you're doing because markers have a tendency to be very strong in color. So unlike watercolor where you can dilute the color and add the pastel and sort of like make it blend out of it, markers you might have to experiment. I haven't done it yet, but I would imagine that it would also work quite well if you're using sort of a lighter shade of a color with the pastel together. So for number 2 is actually one of the coolest things that I love this product for, and that is the packaging. So the packaging looks like this, and it's just a plastic tin. And you can like unscrew it, and here is the pastel. One of the reasons why I did not want to go into pastels was because of the way that they looked and the way that they were packaged. For those of you who are part of school, like art school, or have dabbled in pastels randomly, you'll probably notice that a lot of the pastels come in like a stick form or like a pencil form. And most of the times there's no protection over them, and it tends to get your fingers very dirty. And I just didn't like the fact that I had to kind of incorporate this mess with my drawing, and I don't know, it wasn't for me. And I wanted to stay away from that because when I'm using watercolor, I I'm so detailed. I do not want a mess, and I don't want to have to deal with a mess. And this package is fantastic in the way that it contains everything within a sort of like a plastic tin form, and the pastel itself is sort of compressed. So you apply it with the applicator here, and it's kind of like, for girls, it's kind of like eyeshadow. You dab it in the pastel and then you apply it on the paper. For guys, I don't know what the equivalent would be, but just to give you an idea, this is kind of how it is done. You have an applicator here, and you dab it in and you apply it. One of the reasons why I really liked using this product was because everything was contained within a tin. I did not have to worry when I traveled, when I brought my pastels with me, that there would be a mess in my bag, or there would be color or powder escaping from anything and getting other things dirty with the powder. So I really, really like this aspect of the product. Another part of the packaging is actually that this packaging, the way that it's made, it's you can stack it. So if you can just stack them on top of each other like that, and you can keep stacking them. So this is really good if you're having like an organizational issue on your art desk, like me. So here you can just have them all stacked on your desk like that. So that's kind of cool. It's like a little puzzle game here. The third thing that I really like about this product is actually the price and the quality and the quantity that comes with the price. Okay, so the price point is a bit different depending on where you're getting things. On Amazon, it's obviously cheaper. I'm seeing here for one tin, it's about €6.18. I paid in shop close to €8, so I know where I'm buying my stuff next time, which will be Amazon. But yeah, it really depends on your retail store. For example, at my retail store, I can get the pastels in a set of, I think, 8 or 10 of them. So they'll come stacked like this, and you can get all the different colors of maybe the shades of gray together, or earth tones, skin tones. Yeah, I guess the basic colors as well. On Amazon, there are also all kinds of different color sets, which are available to you. So yeah, they come in a set of 10 colors. Now, also at some retailers, they will sell the PanPastel set as well as the applicators together, and other retailers it's separate. So for myself, I had to buy it separately, the applicator and the sponge. You can get on Amazon different types of sponges as well, like thicknesses and lengths, so you can really customize your brush according to what you need it for, which is really cool. I only have the basic sort of I think it's the basic sponge. It kind of reminds me of the eyeshadow applicator as well. But yeah, so you can buy a set of just the sort of like the pencil itself, and then the sponge applicators in a set of maybe 10 or 5 or whatever. So this is how it looks like that, and you just pop it in. So one of the cons, but I guess it's not typically a con related to this product specifically, it's more so when working with pastels, and I think it goes for anything. Again, I'm not an expert with pastels, but this is just based off of my experience. When working with pastels, there's a tendency of sort of the powder to go places where it should not go. So you have to learn how to control it. You have to have the right applicators as well, to know how much surface you can cover with the applicators. So tendency is that when you dab it on, there might be a residue of powder on the sponge. So you have to be very careful that when you're kind of leaning over your drawing, that the residue does not fall in places it shouldn't and cover maybe white spots that you don't want to cover, and it will become messy and it's kind of hard to get rid of. So this is sort of like the con to using pastels. You just need to be very careful. And this con is not necessarily related to the product, like I mentioned. It's just in general, you have to be careful that you don't smudge things up. Your hand could also get dirty with the pastel residue, which is like anything that it can happen with watercolor, it can happen with paint, anything that you use. Depending on left or right hand, you will get residue here. So just be careful of your, be aware of your surroundings and where your hands are at all times. And then otherwise you won't have a problem with it, to be honest with you.
So let's do a very quick product test to show you guys how it applies on paper. Now I've got my PanPastels here all stacked up like that. Have different various colors, so I've got a variety of the gray tones as well as 2 skin tones and a dark green for foliage. I'm just going to be using the gray ones for now to show you. So here are my applicators. I have just the average sponges like I mentioned before. You can get all kinds of different various thicknesses and lengths of the sponges. You can also get very thick sponges where you can just go crazy on the paper. But for now I will just use these. So I do have all kinds of different types of sponges available here that are meant for the different types of colors. So for here, for the skin tone, I have my very own skin tone sponge. So it's important that you have a variety of different clean sponges for the different colors, otherwise it will get a little bit messy. At the very back of the tin, you will see there will always be the name of the color. So this is the neutral gray tint. If we open it up, and you just kind of just circle around and you will get a fine powder on the tip of the sponge. And to apply it, you just apply it on the paper. So it goes on extremely, extremely smooth. Let's zoom in a bit more here. Let me try a darker color because you cannot really see. What you can also do is start blending the colors together as well. So let's go for a darker gray. So you can see already that when applying it, there is sort of a residue that comes out, sort of like a powdery substance, which is obviously the pastel. So you just have to be very careful in this sort of like scenario. What I like to do is I just give it sort of like a small blow and blow away all of the residue so it doesn't smudge anywhere else. Now what's really interesting is actually you can also layer. So let's say here I'm starting to like blend the different types of grays together. I want this part here to be a little bit lighter, so you can go over it with a lighter gray and just put some color on top. So you can see it starts to blend more, and it's actually in fact turning a little bit lighter in this general area. So yeah, the pastel is very strong in color as well, so it's not that extremely soft, but you can see that while you're kind of mixing the different tones together, the grays, they blend so well. Absolutely fantastic. Now let's say if we are to use a pencil crayon. So like I mentioned, I really like to use pencil crayon. So let's say just drawing, I have first the pencil crayon, like that. And this here is the polychromos. So these are the Faber-Castell polychromos pencil crayons. Now, like I mentioned before, I tend to paint with watercolor and then I apply sort of a detailed work with the polychromos pencil crayons, and then afterwards I bring the pastel on top of the pencil crayons. So to do this, I can show you now how it works together. So we will use a lighter gray, so the neutral gray. You can just start blending that in with the pencil crayon. So you can see that it actually brings together the color. It makes a beautiful blend. We can even go a bit darker. So if we use here, you can get really like nice contrast and also achieve sort of a 3D effect. And then maybe we want to add some highlights to this. And just keep blending it in. Like that. And what you can do afterwards is actually go back and maybe draw a little bit more on top with your pencil crayon and or watercolor paint, and just keep building the layers until you've achieved the look that you want to achieve. So this was just a short and sweet demo. If you guys are interested in buying these PanPastels, I would highly recommend it. You can achieve quite fantastic blends as well as contrast and shadowing and depth to your portraits. You can probably find this at your local art store as well as on Amazon. So what I've noticed is that the Amazon retailer is actually cheaper than the local, your local art store. So maybe if you want to give it a try, order one on Amazon or a package of 10 for cheaper. And yeah, just go crazy. So if you guys like this video and you've tried this product, leave me a comment below how you've liked the product, what you did with the product, and whether you have maybe an alternative to this type of product. I would love to give it a try. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, and yeah, of course, don't forget to subscribe. So thank you guys all for watching and wish you guys a lovely day.